Okay, it looks like we are ready to get started. I'm Aileen Tisser, and I'm a physical therapist here in the US. I'm based out of Connecticut, and this is my lovely partner.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I live up in New Hampshire of the United States of America, and we are together today to bring you some great information on adaptive swim.
Yeah, we're really here today to share our passion. All we do right now is work in the water with swimmers of all abilities, and the results that we're having are incredible. And how it all started for us, just to take a minute, is as therapists, we really had a very good understanding of the underlying problem that individuals with special needs were having, whether it was coordinating their body in the water, right? Whether it was the sensory input of how they could handle the water, whether it was anxiety or fear of where they were in space. And we were doing aquatic therapy, which is very different than what we're going to talk about today. We were doing PT and OT in the water to meet therapy goals. And then we were trying to send all of our clients out into the world to learn how to swim, because swimming is an important life skill. And then what happened?
So we came upon a problem, and the problem was that all of our swimmers would come back to us and ask us as OTs and PTs if we could teach their child or their young adult how to swim. And that made us on an entire adventure of devising something that people could learn to assess, identify, and be able to implement strategies and techniques into their own swim curriculum. So probably many of you teach swimming, you coach swimming, you've done some training in adaptive swim or aquatic therapy. And what we've found over the past 21 years is the Swim Whispers that we created offers multiple strategies and techniques to teach with more comfort. And today we're going to tell you about free resources for you and your team and next steps if you want to do something more.
Yeah, and we want you to leave our hour discussion today with a new perspective on what is possible, how the water is affecting these individuals, and some tips to have swim success yourself in your very next lesson. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and we can begin our PowerPoint.
And thank you for taking an hour of time to be with us today. We're super appreciative of it.
Great, so hopefully everybody can see, and I'm just going to move our pictures on the screen so that you can see well, and I'm going to minimize us. So today we are speaking about an introduction to educating other aquatic professionals in adaptive swim programs.
So do you guys feel like you sometimes encounter a swimmer that is hard to reach, or sometimes you need creative strategies for inclusion? And what are we all doing together when teaching the mechanics of swimming isn't working? And perhaps opening our mind to that there's other strategies and techniques that we might be able to implement in order to overcome a roadblock and teach a swim skill benchmark.
Yeah, you're all fabulous swim instructors already. So this is something that can strengthen your current curriculum, because we want to give you some insight into understanding what the underlying problem is. You can work on that with some strategies and then go back to have swim success. Sorry about that. Oopsie. Back to our screen share. There we go.
It's right behind it, I think.
Do you see swimmers that have anxiety, maybe motor coordination issues, and some sensory difficulties?
If you work towards figuring out the underlying problem, you might be able to have more swim success. Our program is created and our free resources are created for all kinds of abilities and all ages, whether it's autism, sensory issues, anxiety, general discomfort, sometimes trauma, physical issues, motor issues. The 14 most commonly seen roadblocks that we've come across, we were able to identify strategies and techniques for anybody with any kind of challenge, including typical swimmers.
I mean, typically the history of teaching swimmers with special needs has been we'll give those swimmers to the most patient instructor.
Yep.
And all you need is patience and calm demeanors, and you can figure it out. And we're here to tell you that these individuals deserve more.
Mhm.
They deserve to have someone that is understanding them and what they're dealing with. And once you have that skill, you can have much more success in the water.
So I just want to say that Aileen and I have about 20 locations here and about 40 swim instructors. And what we do is we are able to get feedback from everyone because we only do private and semi-private Swim Whisper adaptive swim lessons. And then we do aquatic therapy of occupational and physical therapy. So over these 21 years, we're constantly getting feedback and strategies and tips to add to an ever-growing toolbox so that we can put things together and offer online training for people.
I think you just said a very key point, ever-growing toolbox. No one knows everything, and we can learn so much from our swimmers. So we keep growing and changing, and we're inviting you to join us on this journey of growing with us. And I don't want to brag, but we did go to the Special Olympics twice. And, little did I know, I'm not someone from the coaching world. And it was a very humbling experience when the swim Angelfish team came in and took about every gold medal that they raised in. So that was just a little added perk. And look how proud our sweet swimmer Alina is. So this is a little example, and hopefully you can hear the video okay through Zoom. I can talk about it afterwards, but I want you to notice this young man with Down syndrome. And no lie, he came to me on this particular day that I'm videotaping this because he lives in Florida, and I know him since he's 3 years old. We have a great relationship. And the mom said his swim instructor in Florida can't teach him backstroke. We're visiting some family. Could he have just one lesson with you? Well, in one lesson, we had him doing backstroke, and that's because I used a multi-sensory approach to teach him. Check it out.
Show you some tips today for how to get someone to use their arms when they do the backstroke. We put on little ankle weights, and we put them on the wrist. They're little wrist weights. They're half pound, and it's to increase awareness of the arms. So first, I'm going to help my friend here motor plan his arms. Then I'm going to give him a visual target to do it himself. Ready? Ready, babe? And then we get our toys on the bottom. So lay back and push Aileen's hand. Push. Good. Now push Aileen's hand. Push one 5 times. 5. Push. 1. Push.
So I'm giving him the feedback of pushing back against my hand, because once the arm is up in space, it's like it's lost to him. He can't see it.
Now we're going to use the noodle. And we're going to get them to reach for it. Ready? Lay back and touch the noodle, babe. Go 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's just a great way to use a visual target to increase motor planning of the arms. Hooray!
So it really wasn't anything that was so, crazy brilliant. It was just help him feel his arms, then give him a visual cue to reach and give him the weights so he could feel where he is in space, and he got it within a 30-minute swim lesson. So it's really possible once you understand what's going on.
Show you some.
So what we're going to talk about now in our online certification program, we just want to introduce you to 2 concepts that we talk about.
And we have created acronyms, and once you start getting into our free online resources, you'll see that we love acronyms, and we use them as a jumping off point in order to give you some free education on coaching and lifeguards and swim tips. And in our program, Adapted Swim, we take it like a deeper dive into things like action, discovery, adapting, physical limitations not only of your swimmer, but of your swim instructor, and also of the caregiver that might be bringing them. So we like to talk just for a minute about action, discovery, and adapting.
Yeah, and I hope it's okay. We are going to leave 10 minutes at the end to answer a question. So if you wouldn't mind writing your questions down, it's hard for me to navigate the chat and keep the presentation up. I'm sorry, I can't multitask better, but I will answer all questions, as will Cindy, in those last 10 to 15 minutes. So thank you. So when we talk about areas of focus, it's more than just understanding what's happening in your swimmer and what's happening in your environment, but it's also about your choices and how you're handling things. We want you to really understand the whole situation. So when we talk about taking action in our areas of focus, right from the beginning, when you're meeting a swimmer with special needs and some challenges, you're making decisions before they even get in the pool. How are they going to get in the pool? What's going to be the first area that I'm going to start working on? Well, one piece of advice is swimmers show you what they need. So if your swimmer comes into the pool and they're constantly diving under, a good rule of thumb would be maybe don't stop them, but maybe think to yourself, what are they showing me they need? How am I going to take action to start this lesson? Am I going to work with a kickboard and have them do 10 laps of kicking when all they want to do is be under? Or am I going to satiate that need to be under, use 3 techniques that use a lot of under, and then work it into my lesson as a reward?
And that's such a great point, because the next word is discover. So you might discover with what you just said, if you start with 2 bobs or 2 deep water bobs or some somersaults, since they're seeking that under, you discover that, wow, when I go in and I follow what they're showing me they need for 2 or 3 minutes, I have a more successful swim lesson than when I come in and impose my agenda on them. And sometimes that's hard for us, which comes to the word adapting, to adapt your style and adapt your plan midstream, because most of us go in with an idea of what we want to do.
Yeah. I mean, we want just an umbrella of expectations. We expect that everyone is going to learn how to swim, whether we're adapting things, whether we're using equipment to help them. So the expectation is there. We're not just settling for just, splashing around and playing. We're expecting everybody to get some kind of independence, but we're also willing to spend 5 or 10 minutes giving them what they need, so we have 20 minutes of productivity as opposed to 30 minutes of a back and forth argument of not getting them to comply.
And for those of you that do a lot of swim teams and a lot of groups, it can be something as simple as taking the action of allowing the whole group to jump in, or the whole group to do some somersaults, or the whole group to dive under and get some rings, and then come up and have everybody do an activity.
Very good point.
Mm.
So this is an example of a young man that has a physical disorder called arthrogryposis, and all that really means is it's intrautero, he developed these joint contractures, so he cannot extend his back all the way. He can't extend his arms fully. He doesn't have full motion in his hands, and he doesn't have full motion in his legs. But in his limited motion, he can move, and he so wants to be independent. So I'm going to show you how we go through the thought process when he gets in the pool of how we can figure out how to make him independent.
This is Charlie, and he attends the Adapted Swim Angels program. And I wanted to show you today that when somebody has physical issues with their muscles and physical impairments where his joints are contracted, his back muscles are stiff, because of his condition called arthrogryposis, there are still so many things you can do in the water for independence and safety. So the area of focus that we're going to work on today is the physical restrictions. So because coming up to breathe is hard because Charlie doesn't have the range of motion in his back, and because kicking and big range of motion in his arms is hard because of the physical joint contractions in his arms, I'm going to show you how we work within his abilities to get him swimming independently. So Charlie's going to show you now the swim skill we're working on is independence with freestyle. The benchmarks that we're working on is a rollover and pop-up breath to see which is easier for him. And the roadblock that we have is the physical restriction that we're going to work within those limitations to get him to be independent. Ready, Charlie?
So this is a discovery example. I'm going to see what he's able to do in the water and try to discover the best approach.
Lift up his head and neck to breathe. So now we're going to show you how we're going to work this into a pop-up breath. You're going to use your arms, push down and push yourself up to breathe. Go. So he's figuring out the propulsion using his arms to push down to come up for a pop-up breath. Now, Charlie, from right here, try to swim independently to the end, and when he needs to breathe, we're going to assess if the pop-up breath is strong enough. So show me. Now the problem with that is it gets him very vertical, and then it's hard for him to get horizontal again. So now I'm going to take a look at the rollover and see if that's more doable for him. All right, so I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to practice swimming and then a rollover, okay? Ready, set, under. And on your back. I start with equipment so that he feels safe and confident, and then I would gradually move away without equipment. When do you know to not use equipment? Your test would be to see first if he's just comfortable floating back. So I'm going to look at that right now. Stop right there, Charlie. Get rid of the equipment. I just want to see how you are on the back. Now remember, you can always stand if you get nervous. So look backwards. Just move your hands in a little scully motion. The more you look backwards, the more you can float by yourself. This is the first time, and he just swam a little bit alone on his back. So now I'm going to try to add the rollover and see if he can do it independently. Ready, set. He rolls, he looks back at me, and he scullies. Yeah, take a breath, try it again. Last one. Roll over, back, scully, turn the last one. Turn back and swim. Back, scully, last step, wait, right, yeah. Thank you. Charlie is just showing you how independent and free he is. And by the end of the lesson, check this out. Yep. The confidence is huge. What do you think? Is it good to swim alone? Awesome. So the physical restrictions in his back, making him really rounded, could make it incredibly hard to swim. But in the water, he's able to control his body and figured out ways to compensate for this restriction so that he could be independent. Okay, once again, our swim skill is going to be freestyle. Our area of focus is how can we get him independent even with the physical restriction. And our strategy is teaching him how to stay on his stomach and either do a pop-up breath or a rollover. Go ahead, Charlie, and do a pop-up breath before you get to the end. Back under he goes. Pop-up breath and swim to the side. Great. So by the end of our session, I know this is more therapy than swim lessons. Charlie got so confident walking 50% buoyancy assisted that he was able for the first time to walk independently. Watch this. Go, Charlie. Yes, he's very flexed, but you're going to see him actually take some independent steps. All right, Charlie, go ahead. For the first time. Look at how confident he is doing it. It's actually a little less than 50% buoyancy assisted, and he was able to transition this confidence and skill to a couple steps on land. Watch this. And Charlie is actually going to show you now practicing taking some independent steps, not even with his walker. Just from practicing that in the water. Amazing.
So the point of that video is that, you know, we're working on a swim skill, but the implications some of that independence has in life is huge. And Charlie was so confident at the end of just swimming and controlling his body that he wanted to walk on the platform. And then he said, hey, let's try it out of the pool, which people have been working on with him for so long, but the motivation came from him, from what he was doing in the pool. And the next young lady that Cindy's going to talk about, it's the same thing. What we're doing isn't just swimming, it's really impacting the quality of life for these individuals.
And I'm sure a lot of you watching this are resonating with the fact that it changes lives on land. And they're telling you they're able to do all of these other things since they gained their confidence in the water. And this young girl is 19. We've known her since she's 3, and she's now, for independent recreation and leisure, she's actually able to go to an aquatic center, get a little help with the lift into the pool, and swim 10 or 11 laps as part of a twice a week recreation and leisure activity. So fulfilling in her life. And not only that, she talks to the person at the front desk. The same people swim at that time of day. So it provides confidence, self-worth, and socialization that she otherwise may not get when she's in her wheelchair on land.
Yeah, so enjoy Emily.
So here we have Emily coming to swim. That's my girl. What are you here for? Nice electric fan that makes it nice and easy. All right, let's go. I'll follow you. Emily loves her new van. She has so much independence. And then as you see, when we get in the pool, loves it. You ready to swim? So Emily's going to try to go on her back, get her arm up for backstroke a couple of times, and then try to do changing directions. So she's going to come to stand. Your chin, look at your feet, and then on your belly. Ready, go. Face in. Roll over for a breath. Now show me, stand up, knees to chest, feet to floor, stand up. What do you think? I did it. Woo! Nice job, girl. Emily loves to jump in the water, so the buoyancy of the water pops her up in the air, and then she loves to go down for the deep pressure. Show us a bob. So she goes up, up, up. Underwater. So we kind of alternate with swim skill benchmarks of changing direction and rollovers, and then encourage sculling, backstroke, front crawl, and consistently work on the safety of the breath. For a sensory break, we'll do bob. So she jump, and she goes under for the bob. Bubble, bubble, breathe. And she takes her time to come up. Nice job, Emily. Awesome.
One thing at a time. Uno.
Dos. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro.
So have the noodle handy.
You think she's going to be able to do it?
Ready? All right, Emily.
I did it! You did it! So good. I did it!
So if you loved that video, later today you're going to see an updated release of a YouTube video about Emily, and it really will knock your socks off. So later today we have all of these Swim Whisper stories on our YouTube channel, and they live there for free and for education and for you to share with your staff, with parents, with like-minded swimmers. So be on the lookout later today.
Just go to playlists when you get to the Swim Angelfish YouTube, and you'll see all the different playlists we created. They're great.
Which brings us right to Swim Whispers, Swim Whisper playlist. And now we'll just talk to you a little bit about the creation of the Swim Whispers.
Yeah. So like Cindy said, we like our acronyms, and we use the word swim whisperers because what do you think of when you think of a whisperer? The horse whisperer, the nanny whisperer. It's somebody that has a special gift at doing what they do to make a difference. And we do believe that when you go through our certification program, you become a swim whisperer. And for each letter of the word swim whisperers, we've identified a very common roadblock that you see, something that is stopping your swimmer regardless of whatever their issue is. They might just have some sensory issues, or they might have autism. They might have some anxiety, or they might have cerebral palsy. But whatever this obstacle is, it's stopping them from progressing. So with our therapy knowledge, we've come up with a systematic approach to help you address the roadblock with some movement strategies and then go back to teaching swimming. And we're going to tell you a little bit about a few of them now and give you a helpful tip as a free resource so that you can really put it into practice and see how it works.
So when we think about safety and the water properties and interpreting touch, most of you already probably have a lot of ideas and routines and things that you do to address these 3 roadblocks that we created. And we're going to just go through each one and give you a little extra tip.
So when we talk about safety, safety for swimmers of all abilities is huge. We all know the statistic now for autism is increasing. It is constantly on the rise. And what is so alarming is drowning is the leading cause of death for this population. So it's beyond what we're doing in terms of therapy. It is beyond what we're doing just in teaching swimming. We must make these swimmers safe in, near, and around water. We must educate the community that we're in to understand how to best help these swimmers and approach them. And we need to educate the parents so that they understand why their child is doing what they're doing.
Yep, and things like how are we adding an extra layer of protection for improving successful saves or avoiding a risky situation. If you have somebody who runs a lot and is attracted to the water, having them ask before even they get into the bathtub, having them do a routine of hands in the air, clap my hands, sit down every time before they get in the water. So just how do we work together to provide an extra layer of protection to avoid?
And this might sound common sense to some of you, but the stories that we hear are endless about how it saved their child's life, how their child eloped, how they got into a body of water and they were doing the routine of jump in, make a train, go to the steps, do it again. So this safety routine is very important.
Show you in a structured way what happens when mom lets go of his hand at the pool. And this is a big problem in the community of swimmers with autism and sensory issues. Luckily enough, James has been in our adapted swim program for a couple of years, and he has a safe routine of going on his back and floating. He doesn't express himself much with words, and mom has had situations where he has bolted away before. So it gives mom a whole lot of peace of mind that she knows in the unlikely event that he did get away to a pool or a pond or a body of water, that he would know how to independently propel himself and have the ritual and routine of finding his feet. So mom is up here, and how's the peace of mind knowing that you can understand that he would independently propel himself?
It's life-changing. Life-changing.
So she's saying it's just life-changing, and James wears a bracelet and he will take a piece of equipment, he'll independently propel himself, he'll go to an area, find his feet, but he's really been embraced in the program of the 14 most commonly seen universal roadblocks for kids of all abilities, and had some really specific trained instruction of learning how to become safer and independent in the water. So thanks for watching. James, can you say bye?
Bye.
Nice job. Can you look up? Say bye.
Bye.
You know, having training is life-changing because the parent now can not panic every time their child wiggles out of their hand thinking they're going to jump in the water. It's life-changing for the child because now they're safe and independent and can enjoy this as a recreation activity with their peers. And it's life-changing for the instructor because let's face it, we all got into this line of work because we want to be successful. And if you don't have the tools to be successful with this population, you're not going to feel satisfied with what you're doing. So we're here to guide you so that you too can have this life-changing experience.
And so now we want to show you a quick little routine that we worked on so that we could get a little bit more of a controlled way. If he did let go, what he would do. And it's just a good little tip. You guys can try it.
So we're here with one of our favorite little swimmers. And he is practicing his roadblock of safety. When is usually let go, he runs towards the pool without asking and just jumps right in. So he is now practicing with his swim instructor to get her attention and ask to get in the pool.
Notice the red disc on the towel where she asks him to stand and wait. It's a good visual target, and she's building in the routine of you don't just see water and jump. You stop and you wait and you let your instructor say you can get in.
And I think a big concept in that is if you guys think about your space management, you know, if you're always close and you're always holding, do you take an opportunity to step back and say, all right, let's see what happens as we did in the beginning when he ran off. And let's give arm's length away or maybe 2 arms length to see if we're creating something that carries over when we're not standing right next to them. And the next thing we're going to talk about, and I bet a lot of you guys are already doing this, but that is being comfortable and bringing awareness of what a rescue tube is, being able to hold a rescue tube, identify a rescue tube, do some practicing with a rescue tube. So just a couple of ideas of how we can increase the awareness of what the rescue tube is with mom, with the swimmers, and with the facility of why it's important.
And what comes to my mind are 2 things. One, a child with autism or a young adult, if they've never touched a rescue tube or seen it, why on earth would they grab it if you threw it to them if they were drowning? They wouldn't. They wouldn't, from a sensory point of view, they wouldn't know what it does and they wouldn't use it. But also the physically impaired swimmers. I practiced this with someone that had hemiplegia, and I just thought, okay, they'd grab the rescue tube with their strong arm. Well, the rescue tube is a little slippery. They couldn't hold on to it with one arm, and we really had to practice pushing the rescue tube down, getting both elbows over it to get pulled in. So in the unlikely situation that somebody was having trouble and needed to hold on to something, best that you practice it beforehand so it's not unexpected.
Yeah, and when fight or flight occurs and you're getting panicked, your motor memory of take it hopefully will kick in.
Exactly.
You are safe now. Good job.
Hold on. Koji, what's that called?
What is this, Koji?
It's a rescue tube. It's a. That's right.
I love how Cindy makes him repeat it so that she really is sure that he processed it. That's a little tip for kids that have trouble processing things. You can say it and you can think they're hearing you, but when you get them to repeat it back, it really solidifies that they understood what you asked them.
And we talk a lot about ways of processing and how people are hearing you and taking time to see if they actually heard what you said.
Mhm.
So now we're going to talk about the water properties, and probably you have a lot of education in the properties of the water. And one tip that we use when somebody has some anxiety or when they can't figure out where their body is in space is adding a long sleeve cotton shirt or maybe even long cotton pants so that it gives a little bit of, you guessed it, a little bit of weight. So it counteracts buoyancy. Sometimes people with some sensory or motor issues, they get into the pool and the panic that you see, it is really all about that you are putting them in a body of water where there is no gravity. And when you eliminate this gravity, they can't figure out where they are. And instead of going lesson after lesson, not figuring that out, a long sleeve cotton shirt, maybe long sleeve cotton pants, and they walk in the water with that, it gives them a little bit of weight. We have seen time and time again in stories from our swim whisperers of they had somebody who was anxious, they had somebody who couldn't figure it out, and in one lesson they spent 15 minutes in the clothes, and then by the 20-minute mark they were able to start taking some of them off, and then the swimmer was able to figure out how to get into prone and supine position.
I love this so much. I think this is probably my favorite strategy that we're going to give you today, because we've been able to help people just over the phone with this advice. Because think about it, we all think buoyancy is a good thing because we think of weakness and we think of like the water being such a freeing place to move. But for someone with anxiety who doesn't know where their body is in space and can't control their body, it is frightening. They will not get off the stairs. They will give you a death grip and they don't want you putting little weights on them. So coming in socks, coming in the long sleeve cotton shirt can be a miracle.
And I know we're going to move on to interpreting touch, but recently we had the pleasure of working with a couple of our parents who are unable to swim. And we had them wear the long sleeve shirt, and it was really fantastic. And they felt more comfortable and they were able to progress faster.
Wow. So we don't only see the little ones, we see some bigger kids as well, and we're having great success with them too.
One arm, other.
Welcome back to the Weekly Whisper, a water tip. Now that you're certified,
One arm, other.
Anna proved to be a little bit tricky for us. She had a lot of excessive drinking for a roadblock, and the strategies of biting a letter and different things didn't work, to the point that she drank so much water that she actually threw up a couple of times.
Do you guys see the swimmers that drink so much water?
Modified her swim routine. She stays in the deep, and she keeps her on her back so that she can't be in prone drinking the water. Kristen, you want to talk a little bit about the backstroke right now?
Yes, we've just been working a lot on arms and keeping her head out of the water. And what I found is I started with a max assist, and now I just have to touch her hand back, and she's gotten it. So I find that it's been really nice with the successful swim strokes to do a lot of repetition and just lightening the touch.
So Anna likes to seek sensory input. She likes to spit and lick and drink the water. So your strategy was to get her on her back to do backstroke. And you can see right here, she's having her take a little 10-minute break, 10-second break on your back.
Bless you. Oh boy. Go. Yeah, go.
So when Anna comes to the water, she would jump up and down and splash.
Working through all the obstacles.
She just would first got in the water, she would jump up and down and create just a tidal wave in the water. We were unable to get her successful with any stroke performance, with interpreting touch, allowing us to touch. And we really had a long struggle with figuring out. And once we were able to get her in the lane and able to get that linear movement of all the way down and all the way back, instead of the jumping up and down and creating a tidal wave, we were finally able to create a routine that was initiating and emerging the concept of a lap. because for Anna, really, we'd love to be able to see her be able to be in the Special Olympics and swim a lap.
I mean, what I love about this is look at Anna. She's getting older. A lot of our swimmers with special needs tend to gain a lot of weight as they're older because there's no safe, independent aerobic exercise that they can do. And when she is on her belly, like Kristen said, she just gets so into drinking the water, she can't do anything but seek that sensory input. So laps on the back is not only an amazing goal to prevent the drinking, but what a great fitness goal for her. That's terrific.
Absolutely. And I just, if you're loving these tips, Aileen and I do have a playlist of online training videos, and it will give you a tip for all 14 of the roadblocks. So right now, interpreting touch, this is such a tricky thing. If you touch somebody with your hand under the water and you touch your hand under the water on their leg, which under the water can be an entirely different interpretation than if you're touching their hand or their arm or their leg out of the water. And a lot of times with the viscosity of the water, when you're touching under the water, you get a better result because they don't feel it to be adverse. This boy in this video, I could not get the goggles on, and he's always seeking the water. So this gives you just a little tip if you see somebody like him to hopefully get the goggles on in a different way.
Yeah, for those of you that like to have kids sit still in order to get flippers on or goggles on, you're going to be blown away by this. Check it out.
Put on his goggles. Right? But he doesn't necessarily like to be touched. We're gonna put goggles on. And he's pushing me away, but he really doesn't want them on. Goggles on. New goggles on. And he won't let me, but he wants to move. A lot of times what I'll do, because he just wants to keep going, is just put his arms under my arms. Keep moving around. So he keeps getting the input, which is what he wants. Come on. Goggles on. Ready? Set. Go. And go swim. And then when he comes up, I just check real quick if they leaked. And they did not. And sometimes that's a great trick for getting goggles on. And then he'll go swim. And he loves to be under. It's like a safer way for him to be underwater. Thank you.
So good. Got to keep moving, keep giving that sensory input, even when you're introducing something that they appear not to want. Look at how he enjoyed that after you got the goggles on. There's your little friend.
Jamie, did you have fun? Did you have a good time?
Wanted to give you a visual of someone out of the water before we work with her in the water, because it looks so different when somebody's in the water.
So Jamie came to us at 24 years old, and her mom expressed to us that what she does in the water is she jumps and she splashes, and they're a family of 3, and it allows the opportunity for everyone to be together. But Jamie would never take her feet off the ground, and she would never do anything other than stand in the shallow and splash. And she loved that routine. And after all the years of that being her routine, she really was not that receptive to doing something different. So I put all the strategies and techniques together and was able to come up with a couple of ways to get her feet off of the bottom, and with a goal of some independent swimming. And my actual goal is that she would swim some laps and be able to participate in some kind of recreation and leisure team. So here she is.
Another thing we're going to try to do is get these flippers on. So her feet are kind of smaller stature, and I'm going to get them on kind of quick because I'm not sure she actually wants them on. So notice I'm spinning while I put them on because she likes the input versus like standing still. And now we're going to get the other one on. We're going to spin around. And as long as I keep moving, she'll allow me to put them on. But if I sit still at the step, she's not going to let me do it.
So let's see what happens with the flippers. She hasn't really had flippers on before, Mommy? Okay. Huh? Yeah. All right, ready? So let's see if we go over this, if we could get some emerging breaststroke arms. What do you think of that? So I'm going to put my foot up and just try to get 4 breaststroke arms. Ready, set, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that might be a nice tip. And Mom, you can practice at home too. But if I put my foot here, make a circle glide, make a circle glide, make a circle glide. She seems very receptive to it. Now let's just try swimming a lap, the width of the pool. And I'm just going to kind of touch and let go and see if she'll propel across. Jamie, ready, across. So let's see what she does. Take kick, take kick, take kick. And I'll help her roll over. I'm going to go where she can't touch. Take a breath and go. See if she's going to go and touch the wall. Touch and go. Jamie, swim a lap. Swim a lap. Okay, here she goes. Wow, this is great. Roll over. Now just let her go on her back for a second. And then see if we get the concept of a lap. Doesn't look great, but hopefully she takes side.
She's kicking her feet with those flippers on, though.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
so definitely something to see us in the Special Olympics. All right? Another thing
I want to tell you that if you subscribe to the Swim Whisperer stories and you watch, you will be blown away. It's about 8 times later, and what she can do now will blow your mind. So look forward to it.
We want to talk a little bit about a picture schedule. And a picture schedule is not only important for your swimmers that are nonverbal to communicate with you, but what about the swimmers that we talk about being kind of a little bit rigid or difficult to engage in the lesson because they like to have control? A lot of times we use these pictures to structure the lesson and they can pick the order, but we're still getting them to do everything we need them to do. So I might pick these 6 pictures. This is what we're doing today. You show me what's first and what's second. And we use this in a variety of ways. You can go to swimangelfish.com, click on the blog about using a picture schedule, and download all of these materials and use them at your pool.
And the biggest thing to remember is to use pictures and then to fade them away. You don't want to rely on them every time.
Yeah. And now we're just going to kind of wrap up by introducing you to our free resources quickly. And you can go to this on your own because I do want to allow time to answer your questions and really cater this to what you're thinking and what you're needing right now. So we have 5 online resources and we're just going to quickly tell you about them, but you can find them on YouTube on our playlist. Or if you click on our website, even better, because if you click free resources on our website, it takes you into our teachable learning platform. And in that platform, you get handouts for each of the free resources. There are quiz questions. You can use it to really in-service and educate your swim team as a precursor to maybe moving on and doing our full online certification.
Yeah, so as we go through this for the lifeguard, it is soft signs to approach differently, and it allows about 17 minutes of a video, and it teaches them different ways to approach a swimmer who might be a little bit uncomfortable with a whistle. If they chase the swimmer just keeps running. And it really is a powerful tool to add strategies to a lifeguard's toolkit and help improve success at the pool.
I mean, think about it. These lifeguards are 16 and 17-year-olds. Some of them have never even interacted with a swimmer with special needs. Empower them to go to this resource so they're comfortable and they're prepared, because again, preparation is the best method of education for a successful experience.
And somebody from Canada just emailed and said she watched it and she feels so much more comfortable because they have a lot of people with different challenges that come to the pool, and she felt uncomfortable. So when I asked her, why did you watch it? She said, I just didn't feel that my training prepared me for the special needs population that was coming into the pool. It's only 17 minutes and it's a great thing for lifeguards.
Yeah.
Swim tips?
Yeah, the second one. I would say look at the lifeguard one and look at the swim tips if you're limited on time, because we'll go through the whole Swim Whispers acronym and give you one tip for each roadblock so that you could use it in your very next lesson.
Yeah. Well, a lot of you are probably coaches and you probably already know a lot of things about coaching and the way to structure things. This is just going to allow you to have extra tools, extra strategies, maybe a couple of things you didn't think of before, and it's going to give you more success for swimmers, especially that have sensory issues, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really important to know when to add a sensory break into what you're doing. You know, a lot of times it's not about, trying to tell someone to focus, but building something in so that they have the ability to focus. And that's really the key point of it.
Coach Marty over in Pennsylvania was saying she used the technique of swim down one lane and then go under the lane line in the deep end. So they get the deep pressure, come up and swim back in the other lane. And just that opportunity to seek the deep and come back, she felt like her class and her team is structured better and they're able to listen longer.
I can really appreciate that because I at one point had to coach our Special Olympics team of 13 swimmers myself. And that circle swim was structured chaos. So the ability to have everyone going in one direction, going under, and then coming back in the other direction is not only brilliant, but it is such a nice way to organize the whole practice for them. And then we have a great resource just on equipment tips of our favorite pieces of equipment and how we use them. The resource page tells you where to purchase the equipment, and we found some very cool pieces of equipment at places you'd never expect and use them a little bit unconventionally, but have so much success.
Yep.
And then the last resource is parent tips.
Yeah, what are we doing to help the parents understand how to address things that they're seeing their swimmer do in the pool, whether it's an avoiding behavior or a seeking behavior? What can we do to offer some information? And this actually grew out of a parent at the pool that asked me, why does my son always do that? So this is an opportunity for you to share with your parents of swimmers. I think you would really love this online education. It's only 20 minutes, and it might give you some helpful information to handle what you're seeing with your swimmer at the pool. Educating parents is so important. Use this free resource and allow them to gain the information so that they can have more fun with their swimmer at the pool.
Yeah. And these are just a little sample we wanted to show you of the handouts that go along with each resource. So it's not just an outline, but it really is chock full of good tips that you can just take away and use right away.
And if you love these tips and you use them as an aquatic in-service, you really were going to want to check out the Swim Whisper online certification. And if you're an aquatic therapist, you'll like to check out our aquatic therapy education.
Yeah, I mean, our reason for doing this and putting it out there, public knowledge on YouTube and on our website, is because it's needed. We are really, our mission is bigger than just what we do day to day. It's really to educate people all around the globe. That's why this opportunity to talk with all of you today in India is so amazing, and really empower you on what can be done immediately with free resources, and then next steps on getting certified and what you need to do to move on with this information. Now, some of you might be therapists, physical therapists, occupational therapists,
aquatic therapists, recreation therapists,
speech therapists. So we also, this isn't a certification, but more continuing education on therapy tips, therapy goals, and how you work on this with the pediatric population, combining the sensory, the handling, and all of your therapy tools together. Because there's a lot of training out there for adults, and Cindy has such a great story about doing pediatric aquatic therapy alongside someone that does adult aquatic therapy. And it's a great story because we have to put so much of ourselves into our sessions. When someone is spinning, we're spinning with them. When someone is, rolling, we're helping roll with them. It's not like you can tell your student, do 10 of these exercises. You've got to really facilitate it. So these tips are super helpful. And like I said, we're constantly learning. So we're learning about primitive reflexes. How can we integrate that into the water? We're learning about promoting independence. How can we do that in the water? So check it out.
Yeah, I think that you'll really love the video stories. And if you liked some of the things you saw today, you'll love these 3 stories that are right now on the Swim Whisperer story channel. And they're just motivating. If you have a swimmer that uses a wheelchair, you might want your swimmer to see Ben and watch Ben at 5 years old show you how he swims. Or if you have somebody who has autism, it is a creative way of how to use the rescue tube.
Mm-hmm. And we'd like to just end with a quick little testimonial from a swim instructor that has so much experience. And she basically said to us, there's really nothing more you can teach me. I'm just doing this because I need to keep up certain credits for my swim certification. And after she took the training, what she was emailing us was so incredible that Cindy was like, send us a video of that. So we just want you to hear it straight from someone that's done it as opposed to us.
Hi, I'm Coach Marty with the Emmaus Aquatic Club in Pennsylvania. I'm a USA Swim coach and the coordinator for our year-round Learn to Swim lessons. I coach about 20 hours a week in and out of the water and spend the rest of the time overseeing our Learn to Swim program. I have a special passion for adapted swim lessons for children with special challenges. Over the past few years, I've been reluctant to spend any money on training due to being usually disappointed in the content and what I take away from the program. Then I found Swim Whisperers through the swim Angelfish. I took the training in June of 2019 online and learned more about swimming than I have in years. I now have an incredible toolbox that can get any swimmer past their roadblock, and they're smiling the whole way. Incredible, yes, but then I decided to try it during my mainstream Swim America group lessons that I also teach. The results blew me away. I have always been a great swim coach, and now I am an incredible swim coach, thanks to Swim Whisperers. Thank you.
And that just means so much to us because, you know, you can hear it from us. Obviously, we love what we do, but to hear it from somebody else, that just speaks volumes. So what are your next steps before we answer your questions? We are going to be emailing everybody that is participating on the webinar today with a special code so that you can get 50% off of the retail price of our online certification. And I will send you that information in an email shortly. We just want you to be able to spread the word about all of the resources we have available. If you work in settings where there are aquatic therapists, let them know about our PT and OT courses and share our free resources, our blog posts. Really, there's power in education and in community understanding what to do for swimmers with special needs. So join us in making a difference. Join us in being in an elite group of specially trained instructors that really understand how to work with these swimmers of all abilities. And I am going to open it up to questions. And this is just a little visual to show you how our program gets integrated into what you're already doing. You have your swim goals. What we're adding to it is identifying any roadblock or area of focus that you need, address it, and then go back to teaching swimming. It's that simple. So I am going to stop the share, and hopefully you've all stuck with us for the whole webinar, and we are going to answer your questions. The first one says, I'm a special educator in India, and I have 10 years experience with children with special needs. Recently, I'm doing 399 children. What is the requirement to work with special needs children? This is such a good question because guess what? There's no requirement, and that's what's frightening. There's no requirement out there saying you need specialized training, which I don't understand. There's a requirement to teach regular swimming. You need to learn that. Why isn't there a requirement to understanding how to teach to the special needs population? So basically, you see that we have the free resources you can start with. You can then become certified. And not only will this give your families confidence to know you're specially trained, but it helps the risk management at your facility to know that you're specially trained. And it also helps you to promote what you're doing because parents are looking for that. So while there's no requirement, the benefit is huge.
And if you're teaching that many kids, it's immediately you're able now to get 20 minutes of swim tips. You're able right now to watch the parent education and get more tips. And it's important that everyone invest themselves in learning something. And that's why after 21 years, Aileen and I really felt that it's important for us to put some things out there, whether it's the Swim Whisper stories or the online videos, so that there's nobody out there that can say, I don't have access to training.
Yeah. And I want to be mindful of everyone's time.
Yeah,
I know
I
we're
think
at
it's
our
the
hour
end.
limit, but you can reach out to us at CERT, C-E-R-T, at swimangelfish.com. And we are happy to answer any questions that you didn't get answers to today. Check out swimangelfish.com, click on certification, and just read about the program and check your email for the big coupon code if you're ready to join our family of trained instructors.
And join us on social media. We're always posting cute little tips on Facebook and Instagram, and you really will love to join us on all of our social channels.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing your morning with us, sharing our passion, and allowing us to talk about what we love so much. Have a wonderful day.